All right, let's go ahead and get started. Those who do not join today are going to miss out. Hopefully they will watch the recording. Remember, guys, how you show up here is how you show up everywhere. So we want to really make sure that we're helping you develop the skills that you need in order to build your business. So I do have a topic that I want to talk about that is very prevalent right now. And it's a question we're getting asked constantly. There's a lot of different things that we can say and do to overcome this potential objection. And so I want to start with this topic because it's very important. Of course, if there is something that you would like to specifically mastermind around, I would like you to put that in the chat so that I can control the time and make sure that we address it before we're done, okay? So otherwise, we're just going to see where this one takes us. So first of all, we're going to start this conversation off. First, the topic is the conversation stopper or the objection of interest rates, right? Would you agree that this is something that we hear on a regular, probably daily basis at this point? Okay. Here's the thing. Regardless of that, your job as real estate agents is to stay active, to keep up the activities that you know prove to get the business. And I'm going to get into some of the ways that we can talk to our clients and help overcome this objection. But I want to set the stage a little bit with mindset. Let me ask you, and please, guys, make this conversational, okay? I don't want this to be me talking at you, so please unmute yourselves where appropriate and participate in the conversation, because that's how we're all going to help each other, okay? So let me ask you, does the fact that you're hearing this particular objection all the time, does that hinder your mindset and hold you back from doing the activities that have been proven to get business?
It's like you're preaching to the choir with me, because I was talking to this with Brittany yesterday. And my main purpose is I use cold calls. I use a prospecting service where it's geo mapping with the title company. And I've called to people, I leave voicemails, but the people that actually do pick up, they say, oh, no, not interested, nothing like that. And so sometimes I try to squeeze in, if I'm quick enough and speaking, saying, this is a free market analysis. First of all, I'm prefacing, I'm going with sellers. And to tell them, and I say, hey, there's a property that's sold nearby on 71 Finch Street in Lake Forest for $900K. You bought yours in 2016 for $550. Do you still want the free market? No, thank you, bye, gotta go. So that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. Well, now that being said, and we're not going to get off into a different tangent until later if there's time, right? But I do want to address, Manuel, I love the fact that you are being proactive with your lead generation. And I do want to ask you a question. Are you doing DTD4? Are you reaching out to your sphere regularly, talking to them quarterly, having all of them on a 36 touch plan through command?
Yes, my sphere was non-existent, but I'm building it. So the people that have actually been interested, I mean, doesn't happen all the time I get rejection, but when it happens constant, then it kind of puts you down in the mood. But there's people that I have on my command that I do reach out to them. But the more people you have, I guess it's a numbers game. Some may be ready in 2 months, some might be ready in a year, and so on. So I try to do that, at least get new people and try to build a bigger sphere. Yeah,
that is true. It is a numbers game, and cold calling is not the best way to get business. Okay. Cold calling requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's basically a roll of the dice. Calling with intention, calling with a purpose, circle calling around an area for like the home that just sold. Those types of things are how the better ways to make calls, but also we want to make sure we're doing activities that are going to add to your sphere, like open houses, meeting people when you're out and about. But the discussion that I wanted to focus on today is, regardless of how it is that you choose to lead generate, and we all know that our sphere of influence is at least about 75% of our business. So that's why our focus needs to be there. And everything else should be in addition to, once that's completed for that week, right?
Mhm.
So regardless of how we choose to lead generate, what is your mindset? How do you feel when it comes to overcoming the objection about interest rates right now?
Jodi, was going to speak up and say, you asked the question and I said, no, absolutely not, because it's basically, and I've actually been using it with clients and in the conversation. It's like, at this point in time, I've always known or learned to learn the rules and play the game the way the rules are stated, and just right now, there's lots of people out there with money and they're bypassing the rates, but just in our meeting yesterday, Vance mentioned that financing's up. So I don't see, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I don't see that. And when you get into the conversations and talk about monthly payments and other things, then that scary, higher interest rate kind of subsides. So it's just, we just got to shift with whatever the way it is, and have that mindset, just go out and do the work and try and get the market share, no matter where we're at, or no matter where the market is.
Right. And that's exactly right. So if a client says to you, oh man, I just don't think I want to buy right now. Interest rates are too high and I'm going to have to pay too much. And so I'm going to wait till next year.
Yeah, I totally get that, but sounds to me like you're worried about your monthly payment. Is that correct?
That's a big part of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, if I could find a property that you liked with a decent payment that you could handle, would you be interested in something like that?
Well, sure, of course.
Okay, well,
Okay.
how about we set a time up and we can talk about it?
Okay. And that's great. And don't forget, before we get there, and sometimes the conversation, we start there, right? But
Mhm.
before we're setting an appointment, we got to back up and we got to make sure we're doing the qualifying questions, right?
Right.
Because we've got to have that motivation. If we don't have that motivation, we could be spinning our wheels. Because sometimes the interest rate is just an objection because they don't want to, they're not motivated, they don't want to do it. So we do have to uncover that.
That's a
But I
good
like what
point.
you said, Ernie, because something else that you could say is, well, okay, I understand that, but what if you didn't know what the interest rates were? What can you afford?
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? So taking it just like the questions where you went down, taking it to the cost of affordability, doesn't matter what the interest rates are, right? I think we've talked in the past, I know I've talked to our growth group about it. I might be repeating myself, and if I am, forgive me, and it's not going to hurt to hear it again. If somebody is, so, okay, here's a question to you first. What is the average rate of equity building? So what is the average percentage that a home value goes up per year? Now, I'm not talking about COVID when things went through the roof. I'm talking about average.
Well,
What
3
is
to
the
4%.
average?
Rick's got it, 3 to 5%.
Yep, 3 to 5%. Okay, most people right now are wanting to wait to have an interest rate go down how far?
Back to threes.
1 to 2%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 1 to 2%. Yeah, threes, but that's probably not going to happen, right?
Got used to almost free money.
Say that again.
Oh, like before the pandemic, we were kind of used to like quasi free money with the interest rates.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was born, there were 17%.
When I started in this business, they were around 10. They were in the upper nines, touching 10. And then I remember, and I know I've said this somewhere before, I remember when they went down into the sevens, we were jumping for joy and, oh my gosh, let's refinance the house. And, everybody, let's get qualified because it's only 7%. So that right there goes to perspective, right? Because the truth is, and I'm going to get back to the point I started to make, but the truth is, we are in a normal market right now. We are in a historically normal market. The way interest rates are is the way they've been statistically for the last 20 years. Right where they're at now. Now they've been higher and they've been lower, but
we're at the average
statistic is right where they're at now. We're in a normal market. The problem is, for many, is those of you that are brand new to real estate and got in, say, anytime between 2019 to now, you don't know any different as far as being an agent. Right? Now, some of you, and I speak myself included, are a little bit older, and we understand that interest rates used to be higher, right? And you weren't in the business at that time, having to figure out how to work in the business at that time. But really, there was no figuring it out. That's just the way it was. Then interest rates went down so far, we were less of realtors and more of order takers, if you will. Right? We didn't have to do anything. Buyers were everywhere. Everyone was working with 5 and 10 buyers at a time. And the only frustration was what?
No houses.
And writing a bazillion offers and not getting any of them accepted.
Yeah,
right?
20 offers on every house.
Oh yeah, at least. That was probably the average for a good couple of years.
So statistically, like interest rates and all that, you say the market's normal. However, the way of buying and selling a house and the nature of the game has changed quite considerably, as far as
Explain that. Why do you
it's just there's more worldly buyers, with the internet and everything else, there's people sitting in other countries right now looking at properties in this area, and then people are coming in and making the offers on cash, things like, so that's something you have to contend to as well.
Well, but that's just, they can find you like they can find anybody else, right?
Yep.
So I would argue that things have changed in how and ways that people can do things, but the way we do business has never changed. People still need us to get them in the door. People still need us to write the offer, negotiate the offer, right? So really, all of the basics, doesn't matter if it's 3 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, all of the basic principles still apply. The thing is we have to have ourselves in the right mindset. So I want to share something with you, going back to the question that I just asked a minute ago about, I want to look for something I'm going to put on the screen here. A minute ago, I asked a question. Oops, don't do that. Okay. About the appreciation, right? And then the interest rates, what people are waiting for. So let me find the scenario I want to show you. Okay, this one will be good. This one's kind of middle of the road price range. So I don't have this calculator yet. I need to get it from the OP of the Meggers group because he created it.
Yeah, I'm waiting on that one too. He promised it to everybody that was at the Central Coast meeting, and I haven't seen it yet.
Yes, but I did screenshot as he was walking through some scenarios. So I'm going to share a couple of scenarios with you. And this is a lower end one. I have a couple others that I can share with you too. So this is the cost of waiting. So over here, this is where he did this, a couple of weeks ago or last week with the one that I'm looking at. So at the time, interest rates are right around 7.25 on average. And so the figure that was put in here was, let's say they get down in a year to 4.5%. That sounds great, right? That's almost 3% less. So you would think I'm saving a lot of money. However, expected appreciation only put in 2%. Okay, so that's not even quite the average. So by waiting 1 year, this person on a $450,000 home would lose $5,314 in principal over that year, principal contribution to their loan. They would lose $7,557 of appreciation. Also, we're starting to see something we haven't seen for a few years. Tax deductions are coming back, right? So they're going to lose in this scenario almost $8,000 in a tax deduction. Now, they are going to pay $9,000 more in interest than they would, but all these things factored together, it's going to cost them $11,500 just to wait a year, almost $1,000 a month. So between tax benefit, appreciation, paying down principal, to wait that year, they're going to lose this amount of money. Now, is that a little mind-boggling? Sometimes it's so easy for us to tell our clients, oh, you know, appreciation and interest rates go down. To the average person, it makes sense to say, if your home's going to appreciate 3% and you're waiting for a 1% reduction, why are you waiting to save 1% instead of gaining that extra 2%, right? That makes sense. And yet not everybody, when they're just told, can understand that. So this is a really great tool. And when I have it, if it's shareable, I will share it with everybody. We'll put it in the PC toolkit. I don't have it yet. I want to share another scenario. Okay, so this is a $375,000 scenario. So this was given more for Tulare County area with the interest rate at 6.875, where it would only be down to 5.5% by next year. Okay. All of these, by the way, were factored on a 30% tax rate. And we know that everybody's individual. Okay. However, lost principal contribution in this was $3,700, lost appreciation in this scenario, $20,815, lost tax deduction of just over $6,000. Yes, they were going to pay a little more in interest. However, the cost of waiting in this scenario is almost $27,000, which is $2,250 per month. And so it's really important that we have these conversations with our clients, because let's just say the rate does go down.
Question, why loss appreciation is so high on these $375,000?
So because of the appreciation in the area for if it factored in the 5% appreciation. Nope, this is 6.5% appreciation, because this was factored in based on Tulare County for this area. Okay, so if you have a calculator like this, you have to factor what your area's average is. But that's why it's so important to understand your market, right? Because every area is going to be a little bit different, and yet everything is relatively close to the same. So you can do an average. If you do anything 3 to 5%, it doesn't matter where you are. You're probably safe. Okay. Good question.
I think where we're at, Orange County, the appreciation is considerably higher than that too. So,
oh yeah. Oh yeah. So think of the difference there, right? But the
like
key
11.
is the key is helping your clients understand this. It's not just about what the interest rate is. Who cares what the interest rate is? What is it going to do to their net worth? Right? Now, if somebody truly can't afford that monthly payment, that's a different story. But we're talking about most people just don't understand the numbers. So it's our job to get good with this and be able to explain this to them, right? That's going to help you get over that hump of interest rates. And going back to that question, well, what if you didn't know what the rates were? What can you afford? Because let me give you a scenario. Who has bought a car? Okay. And who's played that game where, you know, they go back and forth into the manager's office and you don't make the deal until you're satisfied with your monthly payment?
Mhm.
Anybody?
Yeah.
Once they get to your monthly payment that you're okay with, you're good.
Oh,
No, I
I
leave
want
and
to
then
say
come
something
back.
about this though.
Huh?
I want to say something about this that you kind of were mentioning with Ernie. It's similar to buying a house. Some people are focused on their monthly payment,
Mhm.
but that's the part of the thing about going back and forth and when you're in a car dealership. The monthly payment doesn't matter. And this is related to the interest because some people buy a car with a loan. Some people do a lease. What actually matters is the price, the grand total price. Also, when you're buying a car, and I also believe maybe in a house, because the monthly payments doesn't really reflect what you're actually paying. And then now with this chart, which I kind of formatted it, yeah, this is what you pay for being like a fence sitter, like not buying, or like not being decisive. Now it's going to cost more.
Right.
Daniel, that works perfectly as long as you make as much money as you need to every month.
Correct.
For the people that are trying to decide whether or not they can afford a home, that monthly payment is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same in the housing market. It's more affordability. And I mean, even like that's why people rent and some people buy, and it's what they can afford at the time. So,
Right. And to be clear, and to Manuel's point, price does matter.
mhm.
However, there are a segment of people where they're not worried about the price. They're worried about their monthly payment, right? So they're not
But
worried
you could
about,
end up paying more, but okay, fine.
no, we understand that, right? And number savvy people and people that manage their money well understand that. But the point is, to finish what I was saying, there are the vast majority of people that buy a car, not all. I don't do it that way. You don't do it that way, Manuel, right? But many people do it this way. They go back and forth until they get to the payment they can afford.
Mhm.
And then they agree and buy the car.
Mhm.
The point is, those people, do they care what the interest rate is?
No.
No, it's
No, they
And then-
only care that they can afford to pay the monthly payment.
Yeah.
So this isn't a class on being financially savvy, right? We understand, well, I mean, that's to a degree, we're talking about being financially savvy when we're explaining their net worth loss, right? But the point is made that if we can afford the payment, we don't care what the interest rate is.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, in a 30-year loan, how many people actually stay in their home 30 years? There's a handful, but what's the average time when a person makes a move?
7 to 10.
7 to 10 years.
And that's the people that I call just in case, just to put it that out.
So in 7 to 10 years, it doesn't matter if they have a higher interest rate, if they're likely to move. Let's say they decide to stay forever and rates go down. Great, refinance the house at that time, right? So just because somebody buys at a certain rate doesn't mean they're stuck at that rate forever, which is the good news. The key is we want to help our buyers understand the cost of waiting. And the cost of waiting not only is going to cost them what we showed, but now what they want to buy, that same house is going to be likely 5% more a year from now. And what if interest rates go up?
Yeah.
Jodi, I while I'm waiting for Albert to send us the calculator, I came up with a text script that I sent to 2 of my buyers that have been like, that is their full and total objection is interest rates. Actually, I was wanting to bring up, what about the people who are also saying this market is ridiculously overpriced? I have a lot of those too, so we can get on that one. But anyway, would it be okay if I share the script that I did in the chat?
Absolutely, please.
So I just got off a call just before this with a lead and from open house, and it's the exact same scenario. She wants to wait till 2024 because the prices are too high, and she didn't mention interest, but the houses are being priced too high, and it's supposed to drop election time and this and that. It's like, where are you getting that data at? And she says, well, I've been through conversation type deal. And it's like, I would have loved to have had this. Well, did you know there's a cost of waiting? And I thought about that. Did you know that there's a cost of waiting? And
Those
Yeah.
are the same people that like are actually irate when a house goes over asking.
Mhm.
Is that they get all excited about, oh, there's finally a house in my price range. And then they get 15 offers and it goes way over asking. And they're literally irate, like
yeah,
just livid over the fact that this house had the nerve to go over asking.
But let's
Mhm.
talk about that for a second. What is market value?
whatever people want to pay.
Whatever they want to pay.
So if somebody's willing to pay a price, is it overpriced? Nope.
That's why everybody asks me what my Volkswagen bus is worth, and then that's my answer. It's like whatever somebody wants to pay for it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's Emily, go ahead and read us your text here. Oh, I caught her right when she put food in her mouth. Sorry. Unmute.
I was trying to make it so you couldn't hear me chew. Okay. I can totally understand not wanting to spend more than you have to. And I want to share a statistic my market leader brought up yesterday. Home appreciation has returned despite the current interest rates. A home will appreciate on average 3 to 5% per year, whether you own it or not. But simply, if you are waiting for interest rates to drop 1 to 2%, you're losing 2 to 3% per year.
That's perfect. That's perfect, because even without showing the numbers, that's a true statement, right? And so why would somebody want to wait? Now, you're going to have those handful of people that truly can't afford it. We're not talking about those people, right? But we are talking about the people that need to buy or sell or want to buy or sell and can, right?
Mhm.
So, thank you, Manuel. So one of the things that in this conversation that I want to take us back to is we have talked many times about the qualifying conversation with our buyers. Okay, so who's willing to do a role play with me? And as I want you to be the agent, I'll be the agent. I want you to be the buyer, and I want you to be a buyer whose home you're outgrowing it because your kids are getting older and bigger and you need more space. Okay, Ernie? Okay. So, Ernie, I understand you're wanting to wait, thinking that interest rates will go down, and we've had the assuming we've had the conversation already, right? Okay. So, Ernie, you had mentioned to me that one of the things that was important to you about buying a home was because you were outgrowing your home. Your kids are getting older. So what do you think waiting a year would do to the comfortability of your living and your kids if you wait a year to get a bigger home?
We're going to be in the same situation, obviously, but if I can't, if I'm going to have to spend that much more money, I'm going to have to cut somewhere else.
Okay, so is it worth your kids and your family's comfort to maybe find another place to cut so that you can afford to give them the life that you say you want to give them?
I haven't thought about it that way, as far as, the price I want to pay for the way that I'm living or the quality of life that I have right now.
Yeah, because you mentioned, your wife complains about always tripping over the toys and can't keep it clean because the space is so small.
No,
What would
that's
it
that's
feel like
me.
to live in a bigger house that was clean all the time and you didn't have to worry about breaking your leg?
Yeah, I don't know about clean all the time with the kids, but yeah, stepping on the toys and being cluttered, and it does weigh pretty heavy,
Yeah.
reverting back.
So, okay, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but do you see what I did there?
Yeah, motivation.
So
Mm.
that's why it's so important to get to the motivation of why a person wants to buy a home.
Mhm.
Because when you get to their true motivation, that's what's going to help you be able to get them to the point of buying. That's what's going to help you help them. Right? But if you skip over that conversation and you just go into all this information spewing and all the reasons they should buy now, and it's a great time, and this is a good market, and oh, you're wasting money, or oh, if you start doing that, you've lost them. So you need this information, you need to have these conversations, but before you get there, you need to know their motivation. And then take them through the negative and the positive of staying versus moving.
So even in that situation right there, or that role play, something clicked in my brain and got me thinking or weighing out price or what I wanted to pay for quality of life. It's like, so I'm thinking, oh, shit, like I said, well, I'd have to cut somewhere else maybe, but it might be worth working a little harder or cutting something else to get into a house that's bigger and better quality life,
Yeah. Well, let me add another, let's go back into that for just a second.
Okay.
So Ernie, if you're waiting to save and the market actually increases and interest rates go up, and then you're not able to provide your kids with that larger home and that better quality of life, how will you feel then?
Yeah, it could get worse, huh? And you're stuck. So you got to strike while the iron's hot and do it when you can, because you might not be able to do it later on.
Yeah. So part of our job as being a fiduciary to our clients is helping walk them through those scenarios. Now, if somebody truly cannot afford it, again, as we've mentioned, that's a different story. And having this conversation, asking these questions, is going to uncover that. Right? Versus uncovering a fear that someone has. Because remember, every excuse that somebody has is rooted into an obstacle, right? It's a fear. But we have to focus on being afraid of the right thing. Now, again, to be clear, we're not talking somebody into buying a house that truly can't afford it.
Right.
But most of the time, or much of the time, that's not the case. And if
real quick on that scenario, then back to that. So like you'd have to qualify to see if they were able to, obviously, to do it now.
Mhm.
If they are, then you said, well, what if you couldn't do it down the road if the interest rates went up or prices went out of control?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
But remember, we're a fiduciary, which means we put our clients' needs above all else, including ours, which also means, you hear me say this all the time, and that's why I say when we're making calls of any type, we need to come from where?
Contribution.
Contribution. So when we're asking these questions, it's not an interrogation to make them feel bad. If when I mean feel bad, it's not to make them feel bad for
We're not the
being
police.
scared.
Yeah.
What?
Well, yeah, it might seem that we're being like the police, but like what we're doing is giving them something of value for free. And then
Yes.
that's where the trust begins, and that arm length relationship, using the legal terms, turns fiduciary.
Yes, absolutely. And so We just need to make sure that when we're asking these questions, we're asking them in a way that shows we care, not because we want to make a sale, right? Because that's not our job. Our job is to help our clients the best way possible. But we need to become detectives. You as agents need to become coaches to a degree, right? Because you have to coach your client to make the best decision, regardless of what that decision is, whether it is to wait or whether it's to move now. But if you're not presenting the information and asking the right questions, they don't have enough educated information to make an informed decision. But don't misunderstand. We're not going to just spew this information at them. We need to ask questions. We need to dig deeper. So I'm going to challenge all of you. Is there anyone here who has a buyer that they have not been able to move forward? Okay. So those of you that have raised your hand, and everybody pay attention, because whether you have one or don't, this is important information. Have you taken out the buyer lead sheet that's in the toolkit? It's part of the Ignite series, and asked every one of those questions with your buyers?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
And then it went from, but he went, check some more numbers. He's a real numbers guy.
Okay, but here's the thing. Remember, it's not just about asking all the questions on the page. Those are important. That's your starting ground.
Mhm.
But when an answer comes up that presents another question, we have to dig deeper. And one of the scenarios that I like to use as an example, just because it's easy to understand, is this isn't necessarily going to be a question that's going to happen when it could. What is your motivation for moving? Okay. Well, I want a big backyard for my kids to play in. Does that, okay? So if you were told that, do you now have your client's motivation?
Not really. I mean, you just tell me a little bit more about that. Well, how's that important to you? Or
Yeah.
what makes that important to you?
And what about a backyard? What about a big backyard is important to you? Right? And keep asking questions. You're probably going to have to go 3 or 4 questions deep on that. Why?
To get it deeply rooted, the motivation deeply.
What's your definition of a big backyard?
Yeah. Yeah.
If they lived in an apartment with a patio that's, like 3 by 6, a big backyard could be 10 by 10.
Correct.
But if they've lived in an average size backyard, maybe, I don't know, 20 by 30 or something, they may want a cul-de-sac lot. They may want an acre. You don't know what that is if you don't ask. A big backyard is subjective. So we have to find out what's important to them about their reason for moving. How is it going to change their life? How is it going to change their family's life? So those of you that have buyers that you have not been able to get to move forward, I challenge you to have a conversation with them and get to the real heart of the motivation. Because I'm guessing that might not have happened. So it's not just a matter of knowing why they want to move. It's a matter of knowing how it will affect their life if they move. Does that make sense? Does that put a new spin on asking questions? So those of you that don't, or that do have buyers, or that have buyers upcoming, don't just ask the questions, dig deeper. Go on a treasure hunt. The treasure at the end of the hunt is you selling them a house. The treasure is the house for them, and the paycheck for you is the bonus, right? So make sure you're digging deeper.
That's what's so cool that can really make this easier, is just having a genuine interest in people. You know, just learning about the person across from you that you're talking to, and it seems like it just kind of falls into place.
That's the whole key to this business. That's the key to creating clients for life. And that's the key to your clients trusting you and moving forward with you.
Mhm.
So those of you that do have buyers that you have asked some or all of the questions, I challenge you this week, pull out that buyer lead sheet, go through the questions. What answers do you know? And if you don't know the dig deep answers, have another conversation with those buyers and get there. And you can simply, start it by, hey, Ernie, it's Jodi. I was thinking the other day when we first talked, you told me that you wanted to move to have a bigger backyard. And, I want to make sure I understand what that really means to you. Do you mind if I just ask you a couple extra questions? Show them that you care.
Right. So, I mean, I just had a conversation with the guy that we were talking about. Yeah, like following up, because trying to set up the weekend to see if he wants to look at something. There's 4 coming soons in his criteria. So I called him up and he gave me we're gonna wait because of the prices going up type deal. And it's like, I did reach back and say, well, aren't you still in that, 2-bedroom condo with 4 people? It's like, yeah, but we can deal with it a little longer. Like, okay, but I
Well,
could
what's
probably
a
could
little
have,
longer?
yeah. But he's also a big numbers guy. So I mean, if I had this to send him, I guess I could send this just like this PDF printed up
Yeah.
like this, and then
Well,
so that calculator comes along with it, and so it's in it. It's
yeah, we don't have it yet. We're being promised it. So as soon as we have access to it.
Mhm. But
Also,
even that, if you clean that up and just send that as a, I don't know how to copy this.
just,
It'll
you can,
show up all this stuff on
Manuel
Zoom.
put it in the chat. Go ahead and download that. And then you can screenshot it or crop it.
Yeah,
however you like.
I made a screenshot of it and then I cropped it up and it's in like a little photo file.
Okay.
Use
God, okay.
Emily's
Pull it up,
for
I can
your
download it.
Ernie, use Emily's text that she put in the chat for your guy. But remember, don't just come at him with information. Yes, if he's a numbers guy, you're going to have to give him some information, but you got to tie his emotion to the information, right? If we don't tie the emotion with our clients, then they don't have a reason to do things, and
Mhm.
we're missing something. So it's really important that we become that detective and that coach to help them make an informed life decision.
Hmm.
Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Oh, no, I was just looking at the PC toolkit, finding all the files. So that was quiet there.
Anyone else? Okay, well, hopefully today's conversation was beneficial. Gives you some food for thought.
For sure. Good stuff.
All righty. Well, then I'm not going to hold you hostage till 1 o'clock or till 2 o'clock unless you have something else that you want to talk about.
Ooh, I have one question. I'm like close to 83% finished with the foundation thing, but there was one thing. I've done everything, but let me look at it. It's the car forms. Oh, the zip forms at car.org. Is that something that I do with my marketing center, or I have to call my the board office?
So if you're a member of the MLS, correct?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
how I find out the properties that are being sold, and
Yes.
call-
So do you have your
call.
zip form set up, or do you do them through DocuSign and Command?
Oh, I do it through DocuSign
Okay.
and Command.
As long as you have that set up, I believe that's what you're talking about. Just making
Oh,
sure that's
okay.
set up. Is that like one of the top things on the list the first week?
Yes.
Yeah. Just making sure you're set up to work.
Okay, good. So then it's basically an alternative to DocuSign. Zip forms.
Yeah, zip forms is how we always did things before. You still can. However, Command has integrated where
Yes.
you can do it through there. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, because DocuSign is if I send like a buyer representation agreement, it would be through DocuSign. Got it.
Mhm.
Yeah, integrate. Yeah.
Yep.
Then I should check that off now then. All right.
Yay. Awesome.
Eh, look at that. There you go. Check.
I gotta
I'm at
figure out how to
24%
integrate
now.
that.
Awesome.
I'm
Yeah,
at
because we
94
want
now.
you guys to get, those of you that are in foundation, we want you to get through there within like your first 8 weeks. We want you to be able to get to momentum and have those higher level conversations and really start to build your business.
Mhm.
Okay. And there's some in here that are in growth coaching that can attest to things start to take off a little more once you're able to do that. So. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, comments before we go?
That was it for
Thank
me.
you.
All right. Well, have a great day, everyone.